Hey y'all, it's y'all favorite cozy girl, Chi the Reality Queen, and I'm back again with another episode of Robe Chronicles. But tonight we're going to be talking about Survivor Season 44, Episode 10. So, they usually start the episodes with them coming back from the vote. And Franny is upset because she was on the outside of the vote and she's telling Danny, like, hey, I would have been with you guys if you guys had just told me, like, I'm here completely on your side. And Danny's like, oh, well, Carson told me who to vote for, and that the vote was Kane. And that's why, you were in on it. Um, Carson tells Jamie, he's like, oh, I want to tell you something in private. And he tells Jamie that Kane was the one telling everybody about her idol. And that's how everybody knows that she has an idol now. And apparently Jamie still never realized that that idol was fake. And anyways, Kane walked out with it because, they thought that somebody had a knowledge is power advantage. And so she gave her idol to Kane, and Lauren gave up her extra vote. They do a reward challenge, which has a prize of them going to a sanctuary and getting letters from home. So everybody's like super excited and wants to win. It's very close between Franny and Danny because they're like absolutely crushing the challenge. But Franny wins her third challenge. And once again, Danny's just a little bit of a sore loser. I think he's used to winning in life, and so he doesn't really take it well here on Survivor that he's losing. I mean, I'm sure he always comes back and is like, okay, it's whatever. But I think he has a problem with losing, especially because he's losing to people like Franny, and then Lauren, and these are not people that he sees competitively as his equals. So it probably bothers him even more. Like he'd probably just like go drown in the ocean if Jam Jam beats him. Like, he just can't stand it. But it's happening because these women are beasts. So Franny has to pick somebody to go with her, like, to the sanctuary. And the first person she picks is Carolyn. She's like, hey, I haven't really been working with her, but she's like, but I really like who she is and I kind of want to get to know her more. So then she picks Carolyn. And then after picking Carolyn, Jeff's like, hey, you get one more. So she goes, okay, cool. And then she picks Lauren. I was kind of surprised by this because I didn't realize that her and Lauren were that close. Because if you notice, she started originally on Soka, and Carolyn is Tika, and Lauren is Ratu. So I was like, that's kind of interesting. And then finally, Jeff's like, okay, one more. And she's like, oh. And obviously, it's very nerve-wracking because anybody you don't pick is talking about, I'm hungry and I'm not over there. So she goes and she picks Heidi, which we notice that she picks all three mothers, which could have just been coincidence, or it could have been her being like, hey, I want these mothers to be able to hear from their children because, that means a lot to people, especially when you have kids, to not be able to hear from them or see them for, as long as they are, because despite it being 26 days, they actually are there longer because I think they make them quarantine now. So they are actually over there more than the 39 days, but the first couple days are them quarantining, making sure that they're not sick before they take them over to the island. But yeah, but Franny realizes that winning puts a target on her back. People are looking at her like, hey, this is her third win. And Jeff being excessive, like, wow, you're crushing it. This is your third win, individual win, like making it known so everybody can see, like, what's going on. Y'all seeing this? Y'all peeping how she winning, But yeah, I think she also picked those women hopefully to maybe build an alliance with them where they feel like, oh, indebted to her, and they won't vote her out because she has given them this treat of family. These letters, they're nice, but I know, COVID, whatever, but they need to start bringing people's families back because I loved when people like were in real tears because their family ran out and they got to see them and hug them and touch them. And I feel like production is just getting cheap because, flying people out is expensive. Putting them up in a hotel is expensive. Getting them to the location on that island is probably expensive. But it just meant so much more. And like I said, I understand COVID. You don't know who is going to make it to the final 8 or 7. And then you also have to get these people out pretty quickly. So those flights are probably expensive. But it's like, that meant more. The letters are nice, but getting them out there, I don't know how they can do it or if it's possible for them to get that again. But I really, really hope Survivor starts spending a little bit more money on the seasons going forward. And if that's something that they don't want to do, then maybe they should just let Survivor go. I don't know. But I just think something has to happen. Back at camp, Jam Jam is disappointed that he wasn't selected. He wanted to, read the letter from his husband, his mother, and we see that they're absolutely beautiful people. Like, it's funny because, I think we have heard Jam Jam's story before, but at Sanctuary, we hear Lauren's story, which I was pretty surprised. Not surprised that she's a divorced mother of 2. I am surprised that she has children. I didn't think she did. She looks pretty young. But I'm surprised that they're finally giving her time to highlight her story and her family, because I feel like we've gotten the story from a lot of people, and there's certain people that they haven't really made important, haven't really shared their story. So them sharing Lauren's story in this situation at Sanctuary, it was like nice. Like, like I said, I'm not too much of a stories person, but I feel like if you're going to share some people's story, right, share them all. Let us know who these people are. Don't make us feel or kind of let us know who you want us to believe wins or who has a shot in this game by not even sharing certain people's story, right? Like, if you don't share certain people's story, then we're kind of like, oh, okay, well, this person's gone home. That's why they don't feel it necessary to tell us nothing about them, right? And I think that's kind of what they do. So I'm not saying Lauren isn't going home, but it's like, oh, they shared her story. That's good to hear, right? And she was, just talking about how she misses her family, how hard it was, and how supportive her family was of her when she was, became a single mother, and how she got her master's and all this stuff. So it's a really heartwarming story. I mean, to be honest, I think they like those people on Survivor. Like, I feel like you have to have a story of tribulations and triumphs to make it onto Survivor. Like last season, Jesse was a whole gang member that went on to get a PhD. Like, if that's not tribulations to triumph, I don't know what is, because getting out of gang life is difficult. So him being on Survivor and feeling comfortable to be on that screen says a lot about his tribulations and his triumph. So, that's the type of stories that they like. And hearing about Lauren, excelling and doing well and kind of making a way for herself despite thinking that she was, not going to make a way for herself. It's this nice story. All the women feel indebted to Franny. They're so grateful. Carolyn, my girl, she's like, wait, what'd you say? Vote out Danny? I was cracking up because that's who needs to go. Like, this guy is literally pulling the strings of everybody and telling people what to do on every end. And for some reason, no one is seeing it. Like, everybody is just there like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And I'm like, is it a good idea, or are you getting played, boo? What am I missing? Like, y'all are getting played. He playing in y'all face. And he playing in his y'all face to make it to final 3. And he will. I think so. I really think Danny will get there by the way he's playing, because people don't see him as a threat, mostly because he's not winning. So but I'm like, he's coming so close. Y'all want to get rid of Franny because that's what they're talking about. They're saying, let's get rid of Franny. And she's like the best person. So it's like, if y'all want to get rid of Franny, who do you think is going to be the person that comes up next? Like, it only makes sense that he's that person, right? And so Jam Jam, Carson, Jamie are all talking about how they would like to do that, because if she doesn't win the immunity challenge, then they should get rid of her. Over at the Sanctuary, they're talking about getting rid of Danny, which to me makes the most sense. But then back at camp, Jamie decides to tell everybody to kind of, you know, clear the air, tell them about her idol and how what happened to it and how Cain took it home with him when he was voted out. And literally no one believes her. Danny was like, that story was a bunch of bull. And I'm like, it's funny because I heard the story and it didn't sound reasonable. Like, I feel like if the story, I mean, it sounds real, to be honest, but because it came from her and she's like, let me just clear the air, it didn't sound real. Like, I feel like if they had asked her and she told that story, then that makes more sense. But to just bring it up randomly, it's like, because you're so paranoid, you're bringing this up randomly because it's on your mind and you keep thinking about it. And it's like, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Maybe you should have just waited till they asked you and be like, oh yeah, I don't have it. Like, I'm pissed, but you know, and more casually, but to make a spectacle of it is like, what's going on here? So they don't believe her. And then they're like, okay, if Franny wins immunity, then we gonna just get Jamie out because she really is over here lying in our face and thinks that we're dumb enough to believe it. But she's able to lie with just such a straight face. But the funny thing is, they think she lying with a straight face. Baby girl don't know she not lying. She telling the truth. So y'all think she lying, but she's not lying. She's telling the truth. And that's why it's so easy for her to say, because it's the truth. So it's pretty funny, but Jam Jam does think that Carolyn will be mad if they say that they want to vote out Franny. And Danny's like, well, it's up to you and Carson to convince her that that's the plan and that's what we need to do. And Jam's was like, I understand, but she gonna be mad. But yeah, back at the sanctuary, the girls probe Heidi on like, are you willing to vote out Danny? Because we know that's your number one and y'all are so super close. And she claims that she is. She's like, you know what? I want to do what's best for my game. He might be my ally here, but it's like at the end of the day, I have to think about my game and what's going to work for it. And so she wants him out based on that. But I don't believe her. I mean, I do, but I don't. Some of these people you can't really gauge because they don't kind of give you any insight to them. And Heidi's one of those people. So you can't really gauge what she's saying because you don't really see her too much. So when she does talk, it's just a little bit. And you're just like, okay, well, I don't know if she's telling the truth or not. But then, yeah, so when the girls get back to camp, after they're done with their little sanctuary, sleeping in the beds, whatever, reading the letters, having a little bonding time, literally, they step back on the island. And Jamie comes running up to tell them what happened to her idol and that Cain took it when he went home. And I'm like, why? Why? Like, that's just so dramatic. It's so unnecessary. You did not need to do that. But she thinks that's her way of like, oh God, I've cleared the air. I've got it off my chest. I'm finally free. And it's like, no, because no one believes you. Carolyn and everybody's like, that's a whole bunch of crock. It's funny because everybody's talking about idols, but Carolyn still has her idol. And I'm thinking about that. Like, we're at 8 and no one has even thought about that idol from Tika. They have seen an idol be played, 2 idols be played, but no one is thinking about the one that Carolyn has. And I'm just kind of like, is that gonna go so unnoticed this whole season that she's able to play it to save herself at the final 5? Or is she going to have to use it earlier than that? Or how is this idol gonna get played? Because it's the one idol that nobody is even considering. Like, no one's even thinking about that idol. Like, Carson, Jam Jam, and Carolyn are left, and either they assume that someone else took it and went home with it, or they just have forgotten that Tika also had an idol on their camp. But either way, Jamie is making herself a target to everybody talking about this idol. And it's like, girl, why are you so dumb? But anyways, Then they go to their immunity challenge, and it's like a buoy challenge. And like at the end, they have to do a puzzle. So you have to start on like with your hands tied and your legs tied, and you kind of like go through the sand. And after you get through the sand, you have to untie like a buoy or something, or dig it out. I don't remember exactly. And then you have to get it, it's like wrapped up in a rope, and so you have to get it through there. And then once you do that, then you can go over to the puzzle, and then you start working on the puzzle. So they start this challenge, and Danny is zooming through the course, zooming like no one's even close to him. I guess he has a few hiccups, and Franny catches up. Carson kind of catches up, but he's still a little slow. Jam Jam's trying to get through. Heidi, Jamie, Lauren, everybody's working. Carolyn, I don't know what these screams are. She did it when she was in the mud, and she's doing them it's like little yelps of like distress. And they're just so funny. Like, I mean, unintentionally, of course, because I guess she's stressed, but it's just so funny when she does this, like, ha, ah, ah, ah. And it's just like these little yelps, short yelps of distress. But she finally makes it, and then she gets like, everybody's going. Danny is ripping and running through this. Like, he gets to the end. He's the first person to the puzzle. Franny's the second person to the puzzle. Carson is the third person to the puzzle. Everybody else makes it as they make it. And Carolyn is still trying to untie her buoy, like get it up from being knotted in the strings. And she is having such a struggle. Like, she is really not able to do it. And they're putting the puzzle together. Danny, despite ripping and running through the course, can't get the puzzle. He's just like so slow. Franny starts making some progress. Carson starts making progress. And Carson is like ripping through the puzzle the way Danny was ripping through the course. And then he gets to one piece, and Franny's like way behind, but the one piece doesn't fit. So now he's like panicking, trying to pull pieces out to kind of readjust what he has to make sure he can get his puzzle in. And it's like not working. So Franny is getting closer. They're still going. It's funny because that's the thing about puzzles that's kind of annoying, is like you can get to one piece, but that one piece won't fit if you didn't actually make the puzzle correctly. But so they're going back and forth. Franny still has a couple pieces left. Carson now has pulled out some pieces, so he has a couple pieces left. And it's getting intense. And then boom, Carson figures it out, and Carson wins. I'm actually kind of happy for him, because the last time a puzzle had helped him, I think they were in a group setting. So it's nice for him to use his little puzzle making skills for himself alone. He wins immunity. Now it's like, okay, what plan are we going to put into place? Are we going to try and vote Franny out and piss off Carolyn? Or are we going to try to get Danny out, which is the other plan of the 4 women that were at Sanctuary, and, shuffle things up a little bit? So they get back to camp. Danny is finally talking strategy with Lauren. Like, he has not even, like, I don't think he's even spoken to that girl since they merged. Or at least, again, production, you don't know what they're cutting in and out. But he's finally talking with her. And I guess you're down to 8, so you need every vote you can get. So he's finally talking strategy with her. He wants Franny out. Lauren is kind of like, I don't know if she's like in agreement or if she's just kind of agreeing, because she's just like, oh, we'll talk about it. We'll see. Jam Jam and Carson are very worried about bringing that proposition to Carolyn. They know she's going to freak out. They know she's not going to want it because she's like loyal in that way. They know it'll break their relationship with Carolyn. So Danny goes and tells Heidi, like, hey, we're going to vote out Franny, and I already have the votes to do it. So I understand you may not want to vote with me, but that's what's going to happen. And he kind of just leaves her. It's a very brief kind of conversation. And Heidi goes and tells Carolyn and Carson plays dumb. Like, he does a good job, but he plays dumb. Like, wow. And so because of that, Carolyn now is like, well, why would he say that to Heidi and not tell her exactly what he wants, And she was like, well, I think she's lying now. And because I think she's lying, and I think it's weird that she would come up here and try to, sow this seed of doubt and cause this problem, maybe we should vote out Heidi. And mind you, Carson and Yam Jam have told Carolyn about voting out Franny, and she's completely against it. She's like, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do that. Let's just vote out Heidi. This is so much easier. But this is where Carolyn makes her first mistake, in my opinion. If Heidi came and told that lie, and you don't want Carson and Jam Jam to vote for Franny, you should have kept your original thought and said, let's vote for Danny. Getting rid of Danny cripples Heidi, right? That's her number one. So let's just do that. But instead, she turns and wants to vote for Heidi. And then she goes to Franny and tells her the whole story and says, let's vote for Heidi. And then she tries to convince Lauren and whoever else was at Sanctuary, that besides Heidi, to vote for Heidi. And she's like, this is a much better plan. This is what we should do because we definitely want to get rid of anybody but Franny, basically, is where she's at. But she should have stuck to Danny. I think that would have been a better decision for her. So she tells everybody they're going to vote for Heidi. And so everybody goes, okay. They get to tribal council. They're all talking. They're always all nervous, but they recap Sanctuary. They loved getting the letters, hearing from family, stuff like that. Jamie continues to announce that she doesn't have an idol and that Kane went home with it. Production pans to Kane, and Kane just keeps a straight face, meaning that he actually wants to screw her over. Because if maybe they cut it different, but I'm like, if he knew that he took it home, he could have smiled, laughed, something, nodded, but he did not give her, he was straight face, did not even make a comment. I was shocked by how straight face he was on that, but he didn't even give, based on how it was edited, didn't look like he gave her any grace for them to believe her. So everybody's kind of like rolling their eyes like, girl, see, we knew you was lying. Danny talks about how like him and Lauren are so different, but he really loves her and how he's gotten to know her and this and that. And I'm like, you talking about somebody you ain't talked with all season till today, or at least that's the way it looks. And now you talking about you love her and this and that, and y'all working together and you want to work with her. I'm like, Danny, save it, okay? I don't want to hear it. They should vote your ass out. So then they get to the vote. 2 on Heidi, 1 on Danny, and 5 on Franny. Franny goes home. And it's funny because Franny even said like, oh, this is the first time I'm going to tribal council without immunity. So let's see how my social skills are. And as it turns out, her social skills are terrible because she couldn't even get them to keep her. But I also feel like this is kind of like the problem with so many people like watching this game and kind of understanding it, is I feel like people are more competitive. And so if you're winning these competitions, they're not even going to try to keep you around. They are going to get rid of you. They're not even going to give you the opportunity to have a social game. We don't care who you are. You keep winning and we need you gone. And I kind of think that's how people are viewing it. Like if you win too many, it's like, okay, they gotta go. We was gonna let you go with 1, maybe 2, but 3, girl, you gotta go. Like, and you was a close to that 4, so nope, not even gonna take a chance. Which is so different from in the past. Like people would win, and I'm not saying people didn't like them, but if they liked you and were working with you, that could keep you there and keep you in the game longer. But that grace wasn't even given. Carolyn was pissed. Her face when she saw those votes for Franny, I mean, she knew it was coming, and on some level she should have known. But it's like they told you, you just didn't want to do that. So it's funny because she's probably going to be mad, But she shouldn't be. I don't understand why people are mad when a vote doesn't go their way. At least she wasn't left out. They told you exactly what they wanted to do and who they wanted to vote for. Just because you didn't agree doesn't mean that gives you a right to be upset. I don't know. For once, I don't agree with Carolyn. I loved her. I love her. But it's like, girl, you should have just gone with the masses. You playing. But yeah, join me for next time. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel for all these new videos on Survivor. They will be coming weekly. Yeah, just let me know what you think, how you're feeling about this season, who you predict might win. Now that Franny's gone, she was the challenge beast, you know. It's anyone's game. If they keep having more puzzles, maybe Carson will take it. If they remove puzzles and things are just straight up like strength through obstacles, then it looks like Danny might, you know, be able to take it. So I'm excited to see where we land on this. We'll see what happens next episode, and I will see you guys then. Bye.